What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to sports. And today, joining me in studio is Rhett Stallworth, longtime head coach and president of Yuma Catholic High School. Coach, you guys are going to be moving up to the 5A division from 4A this year. What was your reaction when the AIA told you that you guys are going to be moving up?
Well, the initial reaction is not a positive one. You feel like you're being punished for success. It's kind of turned into a type of socialism in the sense that, everybody gets a trophy. You've won too many games. We're going to let somebody else win some games. There's really no secret to success and to our fortunes, and it's been hard work and discipline and commitment. And other teams can do that as well. So, feel like you're being punished for doing what you're supposed to do and competing and trying to do the best job that you can do. And, okay, now you have to bump up again. And this actually is the third time in 9 years we've been bumped up.
Has any school had to bump up that many times in that short frame amount, to your knowledge?
No, nobody's bumped up as much as we have at all. And then even as we go into 5A, we'll be the only school that's up 2 levels playing in 5A.
Yeah, so with that whole divisions thing, the big portion, the reason for that is school enrollment. Your enrollment is 517. The next closest one is about Notre Dame Prep, who's around 900 or 1,000 students.
Correct.
Everybody else is over 1,500. Why is that such a big deal in giving a competitive advantage to the other schools?
Well, if you look at, say, Texas is the mecca of football, and they strictly go off of enrollment because it's a numbers game. When you're playing football and you can only field so many people into a program, as you play that game, a team is able to 2 platoon. You put a separate offense, a separate defense, separate special teams, and then here you are, when defense is leaving the field, only 3 guys run off because 8 of those guys still have to go play offense now. That becomes a problem in the second, third, and fourth quarter, and then it becomes an issue with injuries and such. So,
did you feel that 4A was the right level for you guys? Because just from as a watcher, it seemed that the games were competitive. A lot of the teams, the talent level in terms of guys, moving on to the college level, it seemed comparable, and that was probably the right spot for your football program.
It was definitely not something that wasn't doable. We did well, and we were doing okay there. I mean, even in 3A, we didn't win the state championship there. So, but we still got bumped up from there. So, at the end of the day, that's what everybody wants to do is win a state championship. We'd be fine with staying in 4A. We found out in the playoffs this year when we played Mica Mountain, we got 2 platooned, and we just couldn't compete anymore. We just didn't have the guns to do that. But there's always something to work on, too.
How much more difficult as a coach does that make your job when you don't have 2 offensive and defensive lines separately and the same guys have to play as many snaps, double the amount of snaps as the other team?
It just sets your kids up for injury is what it does. It becomes a safety issue because you can only coach so much. You can only coach to a certain point to overcome certain adversities that you have. But when you just don't have enough bodies to get on the field, there's nothing you can do. Mm-hmm.
You guys are going to appeal this decision. The decision, I believe, comes down in January. What's going to be your message to the AIA that, hey, this is just not a fair move and this is not what should happen here?
The message is the math doesn't work. When you look at PowerPoints, the math works because it looks at what's going on in the present. It looks at how you're doing during the season, and then that's how they select the playoff teams and so forth. You beat this team beat you, and it's based off of competition. This type of math doesn't work because it goes off of what you've done in the past, and then it tries to predict what you'll do in the future. So that doesn't jive. So at the end of the day, you can't decide how a team's going to be in the future off of the past.
Mm-hmm. Especially with high school, so much turnover, and the turnover is coming at the coaching position as well. You're stepping down after so many years at the helm. Vernon Smith's taking over. How much harder does that make that transition over to him and to make that program his own?
Well, it'll make the transition a little bit harder, but Vern's a competitive person. That's why we've chosen him. Vern understands the culture of what we want to do and how we want to do it, and he's gonna hit the ground running. And we're not going to shy away. If we don't win the appeal, we're going to be okay. It's just going to be that much harder for us to compete at the level that we're used to competing and what we're doing. But we haven't had an unfair advantage anywhere along the way. Now we're just getting more and more odds stacked against us.
You guys in every other sport compete in the 3A division. That's 2 divisions lower. Why in football is this the only division that any sort of movement happens? Because we've seen, for example, in the 3A division, Valley Christians won 3 state basketball championships. Why are they not getting moved up to 4A?
The AIA has always said football is kind of a different duck and they attack it a different way. It's also their biggest moneymaker. So that's why football stands out. It's the same reason even in a school football stands out, because it's the big moneymaker. It's the big community event. So it's just an important aspect of high school athletics. But with the AIA, you got to follow the money, and that's a big moneymaker there. So they're trying to level the playing field, create competitive equity, and create games that are a little more combative or there's not as drastic of a difference in what's going on in scores and things like that. But the problem is you're still going to have a winner and you're still going to have a loser. So all we're going to do is always shuffle people around to try and make a new winner and a new loser. And that's what's taking place right now. It's how do we make Yuma Catholic a loser?
Mm-hmm. And do you think that the AIA has a bias against you guys or schools from Yuma, and maybe just has, I guess, the bias towards big city schools, whether that be in the Phoenix area or the Tucson area?
I don't think that they have a bias towards us. I think that it's just we're falling into a rare category of our success and what's going on, and I don't think that they go out of their way to tend to Yuma's needs by any means, and that's whether it's Yuma Catholic or the Yuma Union High School District, because we're kind of the pariah. Nobody wants to come down here and play. Nobody wants to travel to Yuma, things like that.
And then a lot of it has been made just online and in just the regards to your appeal to what's happening, and a lot of critics saying things that are just not right. What would your response to be to this, the outrage that's almost kind of ensued with this appeal that's going to go on?
Well, it's kind of like, Denzel Washington said, there's nobody out there working harder than you, criticizing you. So it's easy to be a critic. It's easy to sit in front of your computer and be a keyboard warrior and talk about people, but it's much harder to go be a doer. And that's what Yuma Catholic stands for. We're doers. We're going to go do what we can. We're going to control what we can control. And to the critics, it's just kind of like, hey, they're just people that are never going to succeed themselves. And it's the old crawdad effect, where you put a bunch of crawdads in a bucket and one crawdad's going to crawl to the top, and then the other crawdads start to reach and pull them down. And that's what society's become. So, it's not a good thing. I mean, it's pretty sad when they're criticizing high school kids and things like that, and it's adults. But at the end of the day, that's life. And, greatness doesn't ask for permission. And we're going to continue to do the best job that we can to be great at what we do.
Well, Coach, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I just appreciate being here, and hopefully this goes through, and we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely, Coach. Appreciate you stopping by. Happy holidays. And thank you all for joining us in sports. See you guys soon.